Hey there, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we are visiting with artist Robert Bruce Weston, whose passion is painting with wood. What exactly is that, you ask? Well, get ready. The 302 is about to tell you and carve out a brand new niche. The majesty of wood veneer painting, it's beautiful, it's breathtaking, it's also very complicated and incredibly cool. We're here to talk to Robert Bruce Weston about the process of making these beautiful creations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for flattering me like that.
Now, these look like they take so much effort. You can't just wake up one morning and say, oh, I'm going to do this. You have to have some skill. And for you, that started with cabinet making, right?
That's correct, yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you wandered into this incredibly cool, medium.
It actually started in the 90s, 96, I think, if I remember right from my list here. I did write down some items that I thought were significant to getting me here.
Sure.
Any case, in 96, I got a commission from an interior designer who threw me this idea, and he just said, we want call it, or in those days we said Oriental, we didn't say, get more specific, you say Chinese or Japanese, but anyway, a Chinese style bar, and I want veneer scenes all the way around this bar. And I said, wow, and I had done no veneer whatsoever, but I was so challenged because I'm a very talented designer, interior designer. And this is what evolved out of it. It's the finished piece. This is the very first veneer piece I've ever done. And the piece is a scene on every side of the bar. Could actually be away from the wall, and all four sides of each pedestal would have a scene on it. Anyway, that was my introduction, and it was so successful, I was addicted.
Yeah.
I learned from that. I would go out and try to buy veneer at a veneer supplier. And pretty soon they realized I was coming, and they would spread all kinds of exotic veneer out because I was a buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go in there to buy a couple $100 worth of veneer and come out with $2,000 worth. I love this stuff and the variation and the ideas that come from looking at it. As you can see, a piece like this. If that doesn't stimulate thoughts for anybody, I don't know.
Because when you look at a piece, you have to think to yourself, maybe I could use this for the side of a tree, or you have to let your imagination go wild.
I'll give you one here. I'll be right back.
He's going rogue.
I brought that because of this piece. That is from that veneer. Now, this is, by the way, what happens to veneer once you put finish on it. All right, the finish changes the colors. It's darker, as you can see, and it has more depth. But this is an interpretation of a photograph I saw on Lewis Beach with actually at Moonrise. And when I saw this, then I came up with the idea of, this is so wild, the sky would be so wild that actually, I'm trying to remember exactly what I call it. Reaching for the Aurora Borealis on Lewis Beach.
It's really interesting how the sky just seems to swirl.
Exactly.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Exactly. Well, part of the composition there is, and one of the things that I do that is, I think, very unusual, especially in my original work, where I'm not duplicating something, is the flow and movement. Everything works together. You see how the tree just is following where the sky is going, etc. But it's still a tree. So I'm very attuned to that sort of thing in my original work.
And mixing and matching the various veneers to make something that has so much depth to it really must be something that you don't, I guess you learn it as you go, right?
I think probably what is the most significant to my ability to do that is, many years ago, I was painting art. And you learn quick that this is terrible, that's better. It's the same way I learned design. I mean, I'm uneducated for design and art. It's all from experiencing people that were great at what they did. And when I didn't know them, then I'd read up on them, as I've done with Dali, with Picasso, with Kandinsky.
Yeah. So when Kandinsky would do his works, he would listen to music as part of his process. He actually thought that that music had a color to it. Do you? And he listened to
for Kandinsky.
He listened to Wagner. Do you have a process where you?
Music is a very big part of what I do. All right, and this is even when I was a cabinet maker. If I was producing just production work, I had to make the joints, fit things together, etc. That would be rock and roll or jazz. If I was designing, I probably had classical on. It's always, my whole life, it's been a tool for me. Yes, but as to Kandinsky and color, recognize one thing, that there are very few geniuses in anything, and Kandinsky was, it's just mind-boggling. He's the only artist I know of who taught what he believed, and he really did teach abstract theory. Picasso never taught a lesson in his life. He was a genius, but he never taught a lesson in his life. Kandinsky did, and was very successful at it. You can buy his book and learn all about, he was a professor, college professor. Any case, but that's not normal.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. Sometimes.
Well, it's normal for an artist, to kind of be a free thinker and,
yes,
maybe buck the, traditional way of thinking, because that's how you get creative
Absolutely.
and original art.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk a little bit about those who have inspired you and take a look at your Kandinsky-inspired piece in just a moment when we return.
My name is Ashley Dion from Jamestown Catering, and we are serving it up on the 302.
Welcome back. We're here with Robert Bruce Weston talking about the inspirations for his amazing creations. And we mentioned Kandinsky during the last segment. And this is a piece that kind of pays homage in the incredible artistry that you have put together here.
This was still life with Kandinsky. And the Kandinsky, interesting, I showed this to a curator once, and this is before it was sold. This is sold. This is a print of the original. I showed it to a curator, and the curator said, "Wow, that's brilliant." I'm thinking, "Whoa, that's nice." But anyway, the brilliance, she thought, was that Kandinsky into a still life made a lot of sense. I'm just a Kandinsky junkie. I mean, I just pour over his stuff, something terrible. He was just so bright and so aware. And as you said, his idea of color, I mean, he actually talked about color like it had a sound to it.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing man.
There's just a lot going on here to admire, all the different kinds of woods. How many different kinds of woods do you have in this piece?
Oh, in this piece?
Yeah.
Don't ask how many I have, because I don't know. A couple thousand.
Oh, I mean like different types.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
This is called bird's eye, but this one is bird's eye elm. People have heard of bird's eye maple, of course, because it's very common. This isn't. This is Iroko. It gives a nice wood texture to the walls.
Yeah.
The Kandinsky is made up of basically dyed woods, with the exception of bubinga, which this is also bubinga. This is bubinga. This is bubinga. This is lacewood. Let's see, more lacewood down here, white oak, maple, morocco. This is Brazilian rosewood.
Right.
This here is Mappa burl. And the darker areas in here are English brown oak.
I think it's really cool. It kind of reminds me, I know this is all about Kandinsky, but it reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the Wyeth painting with the lace curtain. It's part of the Christina series that he did in Maine.
Very interesting, because you talk about inspiration with this, and this is the painting, the start of it had nothing to do with Kandinsky. It had to do with one thing. There's a movie called The Professional.
Okay.
With Jean Reno, early Natalie Portman. She was She was just a child. Any case, and there's a scene. She carries this plant around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a scene where she looks out the window and she backs away, and the window's open, and the drapes just go aside, and it just hit me. And so I stopped it on my television and took a picture of it. And that's what stimulated this whole thing. It doesn't look exactly like that did. It looks the way I see it.
It really is beautiful. And you have other artists that you pay homage to.
Oh, sure.
One being Magritte, Son of Man. This painting,
Yes.
actually, we have 2 paintings, 2 years in a row, or with the Rehoboth Art League that won the top prize.
Once at Robert Art League and once at Ocean City Art League.
Nice.
The one on the left is Ocean City Art League. And that, bluntly, is a collaboration with my very talented wife, who is, we labored over that for a month.
Oh.
Changing it, moving things around, idea. I can show you later when we start talking about how I do this, actually physically do it.
Yeah.
Why that's significant. But anyway, and then when it's finally done, we both knew it.
Yeah.
And that's why it won Best in Show. The judge just absolutely dropped his uppers on that one.
Yeah.
Because it's just so well balanced, and everything's moving and still moving towards each other. It's a great.
Are you talking about the one on the left over here?
Yeah, the one on the left. Yeah.
The one on the right with the man with the apple, the self-portrait of Magritte.
Yes. Yes.
That really is spectacular. And the only, I guess, artificial color you have in there is the green, or is that an actual wood?
No, that's dyed.
That color.
That's dyed. It's dyed wood.
It's amazing.
I use color 2 different ways. There are dyed woods,
Yeah.
but they're very restrictive. I know what color it is when I start.
Yeah.
And that's a whole world of difference from adding oil pastels, which I do also. On the top right there, the dolly, all of the unnatural colors are oil pastels, with the exception of the ground underneath the very interesting man with the very weird leg. That's satin wood. That's the natural color of satin wood.
It really is gorgeous how you blend the wood veneer with paint. Do you use any other mediums? I mean, on top of...
Sure. You know, I didn't bring anything because I'm not really excited about anything I've done with it yet, but I'm working with, come to think of it, I do have, with metals. Metal foil. You've heard of gold leaf, of course.
Yes.
Well, there are companies that make metal foil of all different colors.
Yeah.
And I'm working with them now. It's going to be a while before I have something I'm willing to show anybody, because it's dramatically different. On this War Eagles piece, if you look at the gun handles, you see the really shiny part that stands out, the goldish? That's metal leaf. On the gun barrels, the very shiny streak, that's also metal leaf. That's the first piece I've done that I actually am going to give to somebody that, it's from my grandson, that I'm going to give to somebody that has metal leaf in it, because the others are, so far they're garish, they're kind of gaudy. That I'm not happy with that, but I'm trying to find the way that will be blending in, really be something.
Well, I think they're all something.
Thank you.
And when we return, we're going to find out exactly how Robert Bruce Weston works his magic. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gillis. I am the Senior Furniture Conservator at Winterthur Museum, and I love the antique furniture on the 302.
Welcome back. We are going to find out how the magic happens. Robert Bruce Weston is going to show us how he puts these beautiful creations together. So what have you got in your hand there?
This is what's called a flitch of veneer. And a flitch comes, it's a group. It's exactly the way they were sliced off. All veneer, by the way, is sliced with a knife. There's no sawdust in the manufacture of veneer. They put a big block up and they run a knife across it, and it just peels off that thickness. And you see how thin it is. In any case, they come, when they fall off of the whatever block they're cutting it off of, it falls off in order, and they keep them in order. What they don't necessarily do is give me exactly the same order. Sometimes they reverse it. So first thing I do is I number all the leaves when they come in. You can see I put numbers on here. And from that numbering, now I find out which faces are matching. Because if you can imagine, in the tree, if these two are together like this, these two faces are identical. That's called a book match. And it's one of the basics of doing veneer work is matching. So that you get a new pattern out of it. You can see. That's pattern, that's a whole new pattern. Any case, so all veneer arrives to me in flitches like this, and I have hundreds of flitches of veneer of all different kinds. Any case.
So tell us a little bit about what we have here. This is a
work in process. And what that means is a photograph I took literally out of my kitchen window. All right, and I was talking to my wife, and it struck me this incredible view of this grid, and there's a tree outside. It's a natural tree against that grid. What a great contrast. Mm-hmm. So I started messing with it. I mean, there's notes all over this. These are three photographs. I broke it down into three so I could print it on legal size paper and get the size that I want. Mm-hmm. Any case. And that gives me the actual basic composition. This won't look very much like this. It'll just accentuate the grid and the tree when I'm done. And here's the beginning of it. It's the walnut burl and a piece of actually it's this sapwood right here, mm-hmm. which this is birch. And this is where the sapwood changes to heartwood. That's why this tint is here.
Yeah.
That's just natural.
It's beautiful.
This is tiger wood out here, and this one is also sapwood from here. Any case, the premise here, and one of the reasons I brought this is all work like this is done very much like oil painting. That means is you work with the background. First, you got to understand the background and when it happens, mm-hmm. when sequentially, mm-hmm. all right? And then you work in the background first, and then all those details have to be cut into or over or through, whichever's front forward.
Yeah.
Any case.
And it's got to be very precise, I would imagine.
Yes.
So you're very good with measuring and calculating. What is it they say? Measure twice, cut once?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a cabinet maker thing. Yeah. Yes, it is. Interestingly, let me just jump off now to how this stuff actually gets cut. Can you see the tools here? These are all kinds of knives. They're all X-Acto knives. That's all they are. I have all different kinds because I need various kinds of leverage. In other words, I can't just use one type of cutter because some of the cutting is very delicate and some of it needs a lot of power. So an example for if I need a huge amount of power, I use that as leverage. And I can cut deep and quickly. Any case. Now, to cut a piece of veneer, I'll do first a straight edge. See the sandpaper on the back? It's so it doesn't move. It's steel, and if I'm just laying a piece of steel down here and I start to cut it, use it as a straight edge, it moves, unless I put a piece of sandpaper on the back. But the cutting process is quite basic and quite simple. Mat cutters have learned this over the years. You cut it like this. Once you make a mark, that's easy. That's not pushing very hard. Second, you get some depth. Third, you want to go right through. That's basically how veneer is cut. Next, in all of my work, I'm working more, especially in this piece when it gets done, all kinds of curves, very difficult little bends, etc. And I will make one right here. I'm going to follow these are actually not grain lines, they're actually lines of fibers that are bending. But I'm going to follow those bent lines. You can see this is going freehand. So I made a very deep cut on the first one so that the next one will follow it.
And about how long does it take to make one of these pieces? Does it depend on the intricacy?
You just saw me make a cut.
Yeah.
All right. 500 cuts in an average piece. Mm-hmm. Very many exceptions. This is one single piece of veneer. The only cutting I did was putting in the cacti. All right. The rest of it was all, a single piece of veneer that I saw the image in. Any case, so the variation, I can make a piece in 2 or 3 hours. I can make a piece in a month. Depends on the piece. This took a long time.
I can imagine. It's beautiful the way you chose wood to show the light hitting the side of the stool.
Oh, that was the tour de
really
force in
gorgeous.
that piece, the light. Hands
Absolutely.
down.
So if somebody wants to know more about your, where you're showing, or maybe they've seen something here today that they just have to have, how do they find you?
Right. Okay. First off, you can find me on my Facebook page. I post as soon as any show is booked. I post it on my Facebook page, and my Facebook page is Robert Bruce Weston. Right now, it remains to be seen where else I'll be. But certainly, I'm hoping that I'll definitely be in the. I sure hope I get into the Circle Gallery. That'd be a first for me to be in there. That's it right now. It was a time when I was trying to get really large. I just produce now. And, when the opportunity arrives to show something, then I do.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. It's obvious how much you love your work. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure our viewers have really enjoyed this half hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. For more information on Robert Bruce Weston's work, you can visit his Facebook page. We're going to leave you now with more of Weston's work. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. Tell them you saw it on the 302.